Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. It's time for that yearly tradition known as the Raw after WrestleMania, a show that over the years has lost its sense of importance. They have forgotten even how to do the Raw after WrestleMania the last couple of years. This year, they actually remembered what the purpose of the show is when you're supposed to have surprising return superstars, weird things happening with storylines that are going to bring the new year in different directions, and so much more. And they actually did those things tonight. They just forgot to make them any good. In fact, it was all pretty bad. Couple that with the fact that we had two major championship changes over the course of WrestleMania weekend, and neither one of those new champions were on the show, not even for a millisecond tonight. And that is one of the worst things I could even think of. We are going to talk about all of that and so much more as we bring the hammer down on everything wrong with tonight's Raw after WrestleMania 37 right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare. You are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Raw After Mania review and reaction show. Let's do it.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
As bad as night 2 of WrestleMania was, there were certain reasons that you may have wanted to tune into tonight's episode of Raw to figure out what is going on after a wonky and wild road to WrestleMania comes to an end. We even had two segments. We had a return to Alexa's Playground and the return of the Firefly Funhouse, both of which answered absolutely zero questions in regards to what the hell happened during Randy Orton and The Fiend's match last night on WrestleMania Sunday. We also had the third party in that little trio. We had Randy Orton on this show multiple times, not giving a fuck about anything that happened. Alexa Bliss is in the past. The Fiend is gone. He's saying Alexa Bliss is gone. Meanwhile, they're both on the show, but he's definitely put that chapter behind him. All of a sudden, he's not going to be spitting up black goo. He's not the target of these demonic forces. And that is just, I don't understand anything that has happened here. You had Randy Orton beat The Fiend in 5 minutes to show up tonight on Monday Night Raw, lay claim to the fact that he wants a championship opportunity, gets put in a triple threat main event to close tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw, and then just gets beaten. So it's not even like you had him beat The Fiend to put him on a trajectory to go towards the World Championship and Bobby Lashley or do anything completely different. You just had him do that to be fed to Drew McIntyre? Oh, we're going back down this road? We're setting up a pay-per-view 5 weeks from now. We're not just going to call it Backlash. No, we're going to call it WrestleMania Backlash because 2 nights of WrestleMania just wasn't enough this year. So we have to extend that and make Backlash feel special because they're going to book a shit card just by calling it WrestleMania Backlash. And it doesn't matter what you call it. It's already being set with the first match on the card being a WrestleMania rematch. Drew McIntyre was victorious in the main event tonight. It was a decent little triple threat match featuring Braun Strowman, who says because he beat a 50-year-old sweat-covered stuntman, that puts him in line for a world championship spot. He's got to throw his 2 cents in there, coming down with his choo-choo Braun Strowman train. Take that train off the tracks, or at least switch the tracks over to something that has nothing to do with the World Heavyweight Championship. Who gives a shit about Braun Strowman? Oh, big deal, you beat Sweat-Stained McStuntman. Who gives a shit? It was a crap steel cage match. And you know what? Jay McMahon was right. He's been calling you stupid all these friggin' months, and you proved to be stupid when you didn't climb out of the cage, which is the point of a cage match. Multiple opportunities to get out of the cage, and you just wanted to waste time and pin a man that was on a hell-bent mission to kill himself by doing a stunt off the top of the cage. but that puts him in line for a world title shot. All right, so anyway, the GM, who's not the GM, who's actually the GM of all the shows, Adam Pearce, he comes out and he makes this triple threat match during Monday Night Raw. And I'm sitting here going, this is the best they got. This is the Raw main event scene. Drew McIntyre, who we have seen all year, who has now lost cleanly to Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania, not even being able to tap out. He was choked out. He was put to sleep. He was incapacitated. And he really does deserve to go to the back of the line. If the WWE isn't automatically guaranteeing championship rematches and whatnot, but he's not the former champion. He had his shot at the title. He lost. You go to the back of the line, buddy. But no, because of this match, we are getting Lashley versus Drew again at WrestleMania Backlash. And the only thing we can hope is that Bobby Lashley doesn't lose. Because it would be criminal to me. The guy's just getting started. And just because you gave him the win at WrestleMania, don't mean you have to give it back to Drew just yet. I was hoping and praying with all of my heart that at some point during that match, somebody else's music was going to hit. Maybe we were going to have a huge return to Raw, something like a Brock Lesnar. I know I've been on that and singing that tune since before WrestleMania. But if Brock Lesnar came out, decapacitated all three of those clowns in the ring, and then got the shot at Lashley, I would be much more intrigued. I would give a shit. It would be something fresh, something new, something we haven't seen. A person that could be an actual threat to Bobby Lashley. Not somebody he's already beaten 10 times over. I'm already disinterested in the main event of WrestleMania Backlash. Who cares? So that's on the World Heavyweight Championship scenario. Let's talk about the United States Championship. We had probably one of the better matches of the weekend. Sheamus and Matt Riddle putting on a show for Monday Night Raw. These two guys have great chemistry in the ring. And I was looking forward to see where they were going to go with Sheamus. All I wanted out of that match was for Sheamus to walk out as the champion. And he did. Despite Matt Riddle flip-flopping this time, and instead of psychedelic, multicolored magical birds, we had pirate birds. We had pirate birds, or doves, or pigeons, or whatever the fuck they were, and they came flying at the screen wearing eye patches and pirate hats and whatever. And you know what you get? You know what you get when you do stupid shit like that? You get beaten by a guy like Sheamus on the grandest stage of them all. And tonight, instead of featuring Sheamus, we got the flip-flop flipping, bird feet shooting Matt Riddle showing up on Monday Night Raw tonight, scooting by Bobby Lashley. And ladies and gentlemen, riddle me this. Why don't you? Please answer me this. If you just got your ass beaten for the United States Championship at WrestleMania, not even 24 hours ago, what are you doing challenging the world champion? Now, I know the title wasn't on the line, but this seemed absolutely unnecessary. We kicked off Monday Night Raw tonight with Bobby Lashley answering this challenge of Matt Riddle, saying he's going to show him how he's a clown and Bobby's a champ, and he's going to show him the difference. And so he's giving Riddle this match that he wants. It's non-title, so it doesn't have any real implication here. But I was terrified throughout this match, even though Bobby Lashley dominated Matt Riddle for like 99.9% of this match. I was afraid Matt Riddle was going to get some sort of a flash pinfall or roll-up or some shit that was going to put him on the trajectory of Bobby Lashley, which now is not the time for that. Now would be the time to start reestablishing Riddle, get him off the drugs, right? Stop treating him like his character's a fucking idiot that doesn't know 2 + 2 = 4. And it's just, it's so ridiculous. It's so juvenile. It makes him look so stupid. How would anybody even fathom him as a legitimate world heavyweight champion? This guy's a former MMA badass. That's the angle they should be going with. I get you're trying to do this little retro. He's kind of like RVD, but not. But we don't need another RVD. We need the first Matt Riddle. And it's in there. It's possible if you stop booking him with these fucking ridiculous promos that make him look like a jackass. I friggin' hate it. I hate it. But thankfully, that didn't happen. Bobby Lashley defeated Matt Riddle rather easily as he maintained control for a majority of this match, put him in the Hurt Lock for the submission win, the champ victorious on this night. And that was just fine. You know what was not fine? Was we had an interview segment with Rhea Ripley, right? And Rhea Ripley is your new women's champion. She unfortunately beat Asuka last night, making Asuka's WrestleMania record still with 0 wins on it, which is criminal in and of itself. I thought this year was going to be the year. You know, Rhea Ripley's not really ready for this moment, but it seems like they just gave this to her because they screwed up last year and fed her to Charlotte, who we will unfortunately be talking about on this show as well. But man, this promo was terrible. She did not look at the camera very much. She was definitely staring off. She was reading off of a cue card. It felt very scripted. It felt very forced. But apparently she's saying she's going to be ready for Asuka again, as we're going to have a WrestleMania rematch on this Raw After Mania, because nothing says special like a rematch, right? So now they tried to do something special, and they had a surprise return. One of the first surprise returns of this show. And it came in the form of a tag team to the tag team division, as Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin waited in the wings, not even allowed to get an entrance because they're not part of the Hurt Business anymore. The Viking Raider Warrior Raiders showed back up, and I could give 2 shits. First of all, who cares? The tag team division is probably in worse shape now than it was when they left in the first place. And they show up on Raw, and in less than 5 minutes, they beat the Hurt Business, who are not the Hurt Business anymore, Alexander and Benjamin. And it was fine, I guess. Trying to maybe reestablish the Viking Raider Warrior Raiders as something. But, I mean, you would think maybe they would change up their look a little bit, maybe come back and look a little different. But no, it's just the same old act with the same old entrance and same outfits and same goofy looking helmets. So it just feels the same as it did when it was garbage a couple of years ago. Or 1 year ago, or however long it was. Because I have no concept of time anymore in this pandemic, because it seems like the years are flying while the days take forever to get through, one day at a time. Isn't that crazy? Do you guys feel that way too? Let me know in the comments below. Because another thing that makes time feel like it's standing still is we had the return of Charlotte Flair. And I don't know why this is such a big deal. What's she been gone? Like 3 weeks? I don't even miss her. She took a little break because her boo got fired? And they had a little mix-up with a pregnancy test, and they took her off TV for like 3 weeks, and she's a big return. And of course, what does she do? She inserts herself right in the world title picture, something I knew was going to happen. Regardless of who won at WrestleMania, the next in line was Charlotte Flair. She was taken off the card of WrestleMania due to circumstances beyond her control. Multiple stories just came crumbling down at her feet. She had her own little personal situation, and she found herself without a WrestleMania match, which didn't bother me at all. Having a WrestleMania without Charlotte anywhere in sight was just fine. Was just fine. Having her back tonight, making it like it was a big deal. Oh my God, it's Charlotte. She's back. The Queen is back. Where's she been, really? Has it been that long? No. And what does she do? She wants to get her championship back. She starts to cut this promo, and I see people, I'm like, oh, Charlotte cut a great promo. This was a good promo by Charlotte. This is the same old shit. The only thing is, it's almost as if they're laughing in our faces. And they wrote this shit for Charlotte to insult us, the fans, who say these things that she's referencing, like, Oh, all of you fans, you don't like me and you say that I take the opportunities from your favorite people, but I am the opportunity. Okay, fine, yes, you're a big star, and if you would actually let your shoulders be pinned to the mat for longer than 2 seconds, you could be contributing by making new stars, by giving them the opportunity to face a woman the magnitude of Charlotte Flair. I agree with those things. The problem is you don't follow through, and you're doing exactly what you're claiming not to do. So it was kind of foolish. She wasn't welcomed at WrestleMania. She wasn't missed either. I'll tell her that much. She was blaming Ric Flair for making an ass out of himself. She blamed Lacey Evans for being pregnant. She didn't want Asuka as a tag team partner. Then why did all of these things happen? We didn't want any of those things either. So look at that. We actually have something in common with Charlotte Flair. Terrible. Karma's a bitch, and so am I. All the traditional, real kind of cliche stuff. She doesn't steal the opportunities. I am the opportunity, and you're all going to bow down to the 13th time champion. She's demanding respect and told Ripley and Asuka, oh, enjoy the match that I should be in. Like the spoiled brat that she is. Oh, I should be the champion right now. I really could care less. Welcome back to the same old shit in the women's division. And then, because, seeing Charlotte once is never enough, we had to see her multiple times tonight because during the Raw Women's Championship match between Rhea Ripley and Asuka, she decided to come out 10 minutes after these girls were actually having a better match than they had the night before until it got, excuse me, towards the end of their segment where they were both visibly tiring and just weren't able to really pull stuff off. It got a little sloppy and it got a little weird. And then we got Charlotte, of course, coming out, causing the disqualification, beating up both women, and I don't care at all anything about this. Don't forget that we are going to have to take a look back at this whole entire scenario somewhere during the third hour because even when we see Charlotte twice on the night, it's not enough. It's not enough. So then we had to go through The Miz and John Morrison in the back. We were going to get a Miz TV where the special guest on tonight's show is going to be Maurice, the Miz's wife. I never have a problem seeing Maurice. She's a knockdown, drag out, beautiful woman. I don't mind looking at her, just like many people do. But I don't really care. I don't care. And it looks a little bit like they might be planting the seeds of a Morrison Miz split. And if that's the direction we're going down, then I'm okay with that. But all in all, do we really need this? No. And it's only because Miz and Mrs. is premiering tonight on USA, and of course, he has to shill his product. Handshake deal with Vince McMahon, you wash my back, I wash yours type scenario, which is probably the one and only reason why he would be victorious tonight. And we'll get to that in just a second. Because before we got into that, we had to see Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax watching Mandy Rose falling on night one of WrestleMania. And this, of course, was enough to warrant a match, because they're laughing at me and, oh, it's funny. You think it's funny? Mandy confronted Nia Jax. Oh, it's so funny. You know what else is funny? And then she smacked her in the face. We had a little brawl. And, of course, next thing you know, we're going to have the same old match that we've been having over and over again. Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler versus Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke on this show later tonight. It's just the same old song and dance on Monday Night Raw. If it's not WrestleMania rematches, it's going to just be straight up rematches that we've seen a million times already on Raw. Then we went to Alexa's Playground where she sat there in her funny little makeup and she pretty much said to the crowd that she's more powerful now than The Fiend and Bray. She's bigger than the darkness. She doesn't need the darkness anymore. And then she introduced us to her new stuffed animal friend named Lily. She looked like a puppet. I don't know if she was a puppet. She might just be a little doll. You know how girls like little stuffed dolls. You know, my daughter's 9 years old. She's got all kinds of dollies. And it was some sort of a doll with pigtails. It was really creepy looking. Looked like something out of the Nightmare Before Christmas. And then before it was over, the thing like growled at us. It was like, or something. I don't know. They pulled some of their, hooky spooky magic shit. I don't really care all that much about what she said. The fact is that she kind of told us that she was saying, screw Bray Wyatt, I don't need him anymore. But we still have no idea what's really going on. No answers at all. This led us to the Miz TV with Maurice, where they were plugging their show. John Morrison was starting to talk to the Miz about maybe them having a show. Then they said that they were responsible for making Bad Bunny into a superstar. And then Damian Priest interrupted. This turned into a segment, somehow a 2-on-1 match, handicap match, John Morrison and The Miz with Maurice at ringside versus Damian Priest. And all kidding aside, Damian Priest could beat both of these guys with one hand tied behind his back, most likely. But this was Vince McMahon and WWE saying thank you to The Miz, I guess, at the expense of the person that was supposed to be the guy who got over due to all the Bad Bunny involvement in the first place, Damian Priest, who has his first match on Monday Night Raw without being associated with Bad Bunny and loses to The Miz. This guy shouldn't be losing yet. He should not be losing at all. He's got a little bit of steam. He's got a little bit of heat below him due to his involvement at WrestleMania and due to how well Bad Bunny did and impressed a lot of people and put more eyes on Damian Priest in a positive light as well. And now you put him on Raw and you took it all away because he just gave The Miz his win back. And now what do you do? I understand that there's some sort of protection of Priest because of the way it went down. Damian Priest was asking Maurice to get down because, of course, as the managerial wife of The Miz, she got involved as Priest was getting the upper hand. So he, instead of shoving her or pushing her or like the normal spot that we would see happen in the WWE, he asked her please to get down, where The Miz got the schoolboy roll up and got his feet on the rope to get the win here. After the match, The Miz, who had his pants ripped off, was tripping all over himself. Maurice also tripped, which I don't think was planned. I know The Miz's trips were planned. He doesn't care about making an ass out of himself. It's talking about making an ass out of yourselves. This quickly turned into the next segment, which was the tag team champions Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defeating Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke via countout, because these girls are stupid. Okay, now I know the actual women themselves that play these girls are not stupid. But apparently the people that write these characters think all these characters are stupid. They made Nia Jax look stupid because she was making fun of Mandy Rose falling down. Nia Jax had to like trip and stumble and fall down a couple of times during this match intentionally. And this pissed off Nia Jax to the point where she got all scary and crazy. Surprised she didn't scream that she was King Kong again, like she did last night at WrestleMania. But she was so enraged that apparently Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke were terrified enough to just walk away. These girls wanted a shot at the championship, and they have a chance to beat the champions, which is what you have to do to get a shot at the championships in the WWE. And now because Nia's mad that she fell on her ass, you're walking away saying it's not worth it. The whole time as they're walking away, they're backing up just going, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. What are we watching here? If the girls don't think it's important and don't think the tag team championships are worth fighting for, then why are we as fans supposed to give a shit and think it's worth it to be watching? It's not worth it. You know what? You're right. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. Monday Night Raw is not worth it. Not worth it. We had Bobby Lashley's almighty address, which is MVP being in the ring alone, talking about Lashley not being there because he felt disrespected and didn't want to experience any more foolishness firsthand. This would lead to Drew McIntyre coming out and staking his claim to the championship. He says MVP has no idea how he felt, how he knew it was going to come down to the Claymore or the Hurt Lock last night, and who would be the person that made the first mistake. And he was man enough to admit, I'm man enough to admit while I'm here in me skirt and me kilt and me sword in me hand to say that I made the mistake. Great. That was a terrible Irish accent, but anyway, that's pretty much what he said. He wanted to knock Lashley off his pedal stool. And then Braun Strowman came out. Woo, woo, Braun. He told McIntyre he's got to get to the back of the line, which Braun Strowman actually has a point. Maybe he's not as stupid as Sweaty Shane Man says he is. This brought out Randy Orton. He said, like I mentioned earlier, The Fiend and Alexa Bliss are finished, even though we just seen Alexa Bliss 2 segments earlier, and he wants to be the champ again. Adam Pearce makes the match the main event of the evening, which will happen later on. Then we had Elias and Jackson Riker in the ring because they're going to take on the New Day, and this was very, very strange because not only did they make Elias look like an idiot because every time he strummed his guitar, apparently the sound of a horn would play, and he was very confused by this, as if he didn't realize that the guitar was playing the wrong sound. He was like, wait, hang on, did you hear that? And then he would strum the chord and hear the horn, and he thought it was coming from his strings, I think. I don't know. It was weird. It was stupid. It was just really, really agitating as Kofi and Woods came out, made their entrance. We know we're getting this matchup now, right? But there was this weird back and forth with the New Day where they were accusing Riker and Elias of being embarrassments to the tag team division. First of all, I don't think they are even a legit tag team. How many matches have they have? And what did they do? They single-handedly got beat up by Braun Strowman. Now, I understand the tongue-in-cheekness of this, that they were actually, joking on what happened to them. They were making a little, nudge kind of comedy joke about how they got their asses kicked by Omos and AJ Styles, who were not on this show. We got to see this. We got the New Day versus Riker and Elias for no fucking reason at all, because the New Day want to get back at these 2 guys for embarrassing the tag team division for doing something that they did themselves at WrestleMania. It's confusing. It's confusing to even explain. It was not really that funny, as most of the nonsense is. It went on a little bit too long, and then we had a 10-minute tag team match that I could care less about. Xavier Woods gets the pin after hitting Daybreak on Elias for the win. Doesn't matter. Where were the champions? Where was Sheamus? We got to see Matt fucking Riddle, but we didn't get to see Sheamus. We seen all the losers tonight, and the winners got, what are they, still out partying from WrestleMania weekend? I don't freaking get it. We got another interview from Randy Orton because, again, like Charlotte Flair, once or twice is never enough times we can see Randy Orton in the night where he says, tonight he strikes with an RKO. The normal shit that Randy Orton says. We got a very strange Firefly Funhouse where Bray Wyatt returned in his sweater and his set, and he's not burned, and he's not upset. He's not mad that he lost to Randy Orton. He said that he's here with his real friends. He feels reborn, and everything will be fine. Everything's fine. Don't worry about anything you seen last night. Everything's fine now. Because he will return. The Fiend's going to come back. Do we care? Do we care? He thinks he lost. He was treated like a loser. He looked like a loser. He was distracted by Alexa Bliss. He lost the match. And now he's reborn. Again, do we care? I don't know. I don't know. Everybody's telling me to be patient and wait for the story to play out, but I think it's already played out, if you know what I mean. Then we had the main event, the triple threat match. Drew McIntyre, as we said at the beginning of the show, defeating Braun Strowman and Randy Orton. The match was fine. The finish was interesting. I just don't like the choice. I don't like the choice. And to make it even worse, after Drew McIntyre wins this thing, MVP comes out. You assume Bobby Lashley's coming out because I started to play the Hurt Business music. And out of nowhere, Teabag and Mush from Retribution, they hit the ring and they beat down Drew McIntyre, effectively turning the Hurt Business into Retribution 2.0. Are these two clowns going to be Bobby Lashley's new heavies? Can you have at least taken the Retribution gear off? Let them be actual men and not jokes, not comic book characters come to life. Put them in suits next to the champ. No, you're going to have these two guys in their Predator versus alien masks standing next to him. Ridiculous. So essentially, we're going right back down the road we've already been down, where we got the Hurt Business and Retribution on one side and Drew McIntyre on the other. Holy shit, man. And just as a little bonus for those of you that have stuck around, WrestleMania Night 2, we didn't do the review on it because honestly it didn't deserve the review. It was the complete opposite of Night 1. Night 1 had 5 great matches and 2 really shit matches. Night 2 had 2 great matches and 5 really shit matches, so that's all you really need to know. The Nigerian drum fight, where they just pretty much had a hardcore match, had a bunch of instruments at ringside and only used the cymbal. They didn't use any drums to beat each other. I didn't see anybody getting their head banged into a conga drum. I didn't see anybody use any drummers' mallets to beat down anybody else. But we did see the return of Yabba Dabba Doo Dabba Kato, who's now apparently some sort of a general in the army of Nigeria for Apollo Crews, where he helps him get the win. I mean, I get the finish, but I hate the fact that they acted like they didn't know who Yabba Dabba was, like the Raw Underground never happened. I'd like to erase it from my mind as well, but we've seen this guy get his shit handed to him by Braun Strowman, and now this is a rebirth of him of sorts, and we're going to act like, what? Who's this guy? But that wasn't the best match of the night. In fact, I thought it was a little bit too short, and though it had an interesting finish, it was nowhere near as good as what we saw from Matt Riddle and his pirate pigeon bird feed versus Sheamus for the United States Championship. And obviously, the awesome triple threat main event, which actually felt like a WrestleMania triple threat main event match. It just was really, really good. I just didn't have it in me to sit here and talk about it. I was actually very depressed. I was so disappointed because night 1 really uplifted my spirits. And then night 2 just brought us right back to reality. And now, with Raw after WrestleMania, we're right back where we started from. So around and round we go. Where this ridiculous Raw train stops, nobody knows. And I'm not talking about the Braun Strowman choo-choo train. I'm talking about the Vince's fucking crazy out of his mind train. What are they doing with Alexa and Bray? Is Alexa the new Fiend? Is Bray going to just be something else? Should we care? They can't pay anything off with this character. It just keeps getting weirder and weirder. And now it seems like Alexa's taken the whole thing. Well, they gave Alexa the whole story. And they're just going to do something else with Bray? I don't know. It bothers me. It bothers me as much as everything else on this very poop hammer filled episode, the Raw after WrestleMania. Poop hammers all around. There was barely anything good on this show at all. I mean, the action in ring, It was fine for the most part, but it was a criminal sin to not have the United States champion Sheamus on this show. And you gave the titles to AJ Styles and Omos, and I would have much rather had a segment from them than have to see the New Day and their weird comedy act versus Elias and Jackson Riker. But what do I know? I'm just a stupid mark, right? Thank you guys all for joining me once again here on Sledgehammer TV for our bringing the hammer down on Monday Night Raw. If you missed WrestleMania Night 1's review, it will be up in the annotations up above, as well as everything that we had to rip apart on the road to WrestleMania. If you missed anything, it'll be there for any of you new subscribers, which is the call to arms right now for you to hit that subscribe button if you have not already done so, and you want to be part of the newest, coolest faction of wrestling fans in the YouTube wrestling community. Be a sledgehead of Sledge Nation. All you gotta do is hit that subscribe button, smash that like button for me if you had a good time here with me today, and then share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they need someone to talk to about pro wrestling. I am that guy. I am Nick Nightmare. This is the team, Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, the world heavyweight champion of all the microphones in all the world, the new and improved Blue the Snowball microphone. And just because you don't see the belt, don't mean he ain't the champ. All right? Just trust me, he's the champ. But you know who's an even bigger champ? Each and every one of you, the most important part of this team. Thank you for being a part of it. Thank you for another wrestling year. We made it through another WrestleMania weekend, another Raw after WrestleMania, and who knows where we go from here. We will see you Friday night when we bring the hammer down on SmackDown and see how they mess that show up, because it's inevitable. They had their little run. All good things must come to an end, just like this show. And we'll see you Friday for the SmackDown review. That, my friends, is going to do it. We are out of here. We will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com.
Thanks, Vince. Oh.